that then, because that's where it gets pretty exciting. So you come back, and you're back into Canada,
Hmm.
and you just graduated.
Yeah.
So what's going on in your head? What are you looking for? Because when we spoke last time, you actually introduced a job search process
Yeah.
that was different than what I had known already,
Hmm.
but it different in so many good ways. Because I think there's a standard approach that people take to job search. They
Hmm.
go online and they start looking at jobs,
Hmm.
and they see what they're looking for, and they see what matches up with their degree and whatnot, and they start applying.
Hmm.
What you did was completely different, right? Because, and again, I'll highlight that people go on job boards and they search things up. You did
Hmm.
something completely different. Can you walk us through the job search process you took from getting back into Canada and saying, I need a job in a month because,
Hmm.
I just graduated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so how
For
was
sure.
that?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so first thing first is nobody do the same mistake that I did. If you're in fourth year, starting fourth year, start your job search. That's my first advice that I'd say. Go off and I'm going to tell you all the steps. So follow the steps, but not after you graduate and you finish your course. Maybe when you start your fourth year, right in September. If you could start it, or even earlier, I'll be very honest. At the ending of third year, maybe try starting then, because a lot of companies, and I'll say one, the bigger companies, or in essence the better jobs, are they start, like, the companies start recruiting a year in advance, or sometimes a year and a half in advance. And I realized that after I was done all my courses, so you can already see, like, it was a little bit more stressful for me in that sense. But yeah, so I came back, and what I did was I started networking strong. I had, from first year, second year, third year, and with all those co-ops, I genuinely started believing in networking. Because for me personally, I think all three of my those terms came because of my networking. In some essence, networking had, like, I could have had good resumes and experiences and cover letter, but I think there was a big touch of some form of networking in there. So I came back and I started focusing towards networking. And so when it comes to the process that we're talking about, so what I last time when we talked, so I told Asad that, so what you do is you open up an Excel sheet. You understand who you are as a person, and you start filling out the Excel sheet. So within the Excel sheet, what you got to do is you got to write down all the companies that you're interested in. And so, 30, 40 companies. And at the same time, you can't be very nitpicky, right? You have to have a little bit of an open mind. Don't forget, there's internationally, people are applying to the same positions. People from, like, how many more universities are applying to the same positions. And so you gotta have a open mind also. So you gotta not just pick 10 companies, pick like 20, 30, 40, 50 companies, right? Make that Excel document. And then within them, find out the positions that you really see yourself in. So you can, for each company, you could have maybe 2 or 3 positions, and not necessarily what's already available on the market. So not necessarily like those jobs are already there that they're hiring for. You can have those too, but just have general positions. So for example, I've focused on PM, consulting, finance, and I just kept going on, like, for every single company I saw, whichever roles I would fit in perfectly, with with the knowledge that, hey, I am still a new graduate, so I'm not going to apply for, like, senior financial analyst. I'm going to probably just apply for, like, junior financial analyst, or just financial analyst, or sorry, junior consultant, right? Stuff like that. So you write down the roles that you want, and then from that, this is where the real networking fun starts. You have to find out people who have those specific roles, and this is not because you want them to give you a reference per se. You have to be generally interested in these roles, right? So you have to find these people who have these roles, and you do this through LinkedIn, your close network, your family, your friends, your cousins, your XYZ. So find out somebody who has that specific role, and then you can start preparing questions to that role from that company and to that specific person. And you gotta fill out that Excel sheet. So I just had columns, 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 and rows, 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 and all this stuff. So you make this, nice, very well populated Excel sheet, and then you dive in with the networking, right? And you reach out to these people. You have genuine interactions with them. Your mindset shouldn't be, hey, I'm going in because I want this guy to give me a reference or give me a job. No, no. I want to go in because I'm here to learn from this person how he got or she got the job, and also how they're enjoying themselves at this position. Or is it, what's the learning abilities, what's wrong, what's the downs, what's the ups and the downs, what's the key details behind this specific role, and this, and how is life as a, junior this, or an analyst in this, and all this stuff. So you ask these questions, and then you want to get a little bit more personal with these questions in regards to that person's professional accomplishments, right? You have to look at LinkedIn. Um, so yeah, so you get these questions ready, you message them, you call them, whatever you find as accessibility. You reach out to them, and start having these meetings, these Zoom calls, these Skype calls, these phone calls, and all this stuff, and you genuinely learn from them, and you share a little bit of your experiences too, and that network. Your goal is to start, and then once you build some type of confidence and comfortability with this person and some type of trust, you can start engaging them. Hey, I genuinely am interested in this role because I feel like it's the best thing for my career. It's something that's going to help me grow as a person, and I think I'll be able to accomplish a lot in it, right? But you gotta very thoroughly introduce this idea, and you go on from there, and hopefully, when you network with that many people, hopefully some form where you learn a lot. What's the least of this is that you learn a lot. You understand a lot about all these different companies, these different roles, these different positions. And what's the best thing out of this is that somebody says, you know what, I like you, I like your resume, I like your talking ability, I like your personality, I think you'll be a great fit for my team, or if not for my team, my friend, my coworker's team. How about this? Let me introduce you to my coworker. Let me introduce you to my manager, and we can see where this goes.
But okay, so there's a couple pieces that in there, and I want to dive into each one a little bit. So first step, find companies that you want to work for. Inside those companies, find roles that you'd be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Inside those roles, find people with those roles.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the networking piece. So I think let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Because traditionally it's a little bit different, right? People go on LinkedIn and they just look at all these job titles. Maybe they search by job title, and they're like, okay, financial analyst. These are the 70 companies with a financial analyst role right now. These are the requirements, etc. That's completely opposite to what you're saying. What you're recommending, and I actually agree with you a lot, is find companies that you want to work for. But how do you know which company you want to work for?
That's a good question. So I remember, Asad, I was telling you, when I came back, I treated my every single day like it was an exam season. I would be on my laptop from morning to my parents would be yelling at me like, you just finished your degree, come down, chill, relax. I was like, no, I know what I need to do. I need to, get my job and stuff. So I would be on my laptop from morning till night, and I would be doing research about these companies. And the thing was, this was inherently already in me because I would be doing stocks and stuff, right? So the capital market, you have to do your research with the different companies. So I already knew a lot of about a lot of these companies, but some things that I didn't know, I just honestly just Google them. There's so much about all these companies, and here, let me break it. Glassdoor, Indeed, Monster, all these companies, all these websites have details about these companies, how it's working there, what's um, the daily lifestyle there. And there's so many YouTubers that have made a day in the life of working for, IBM, United Nations, XYZ, So you can find all these people, and you can find all these details, and that can help you determine if you want to be part of that organization or not. And if it fits, not necessarily if they fit with you, I mean, that's part of it, but if you can fit with them, right? So, and then you also got to understand these. I think a part of this before coming to the companies is also the industries, right? You got to understand which industry you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
I knew for consulting, there's these specific companies that I have to be engaged with. I knew for finance, there's these specific companies that I have to be engaged with. So maybe I should back up and I say, before you start looking at the company, start even also understanding which industries you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's really, really helpful advice because when you said that, I mean, I started doing that a little bit. I created the Excel sheet and I started listing down a bunch of companies that I thought would be great to work at. And one thing you said was look for the kind of values they have and the work that they're doing. And for a lot of people, that's very important. And so that's one thing to keep in mind as well. So for me, as I started building that list, I started to actually figure out, okay, I don't want to be at a company like this, and I want to be at companies like this. And that helped me kind of narrow down, okay, I want to be in the education industry.
Mhm.
In the education industry, here are the institutions really
Mhm.
that are doing what I think is really exciting
Nice.
and what I want to be part of. Right.
Yeah.
So that little piece of advice had already helped me so much. So thank you for that. I'm excited for other people to hear that too. Now, say so you're starting to build out, you have your industry, you're starting to build out the companies that you want to work at.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And again, this model is flipped. So you have to have confidence that you'll be able to make it into these companies, even if they're really good.
Yeah, a part of it is that, a part of it, like, but that's why I said you have to have a little open mind also. Like you're confident you'll make it, but you don't pick two or three companies. I mean, if you're that star kid, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, if you got that 99 average and you got all those things knocked out and you have strong networks within these companies, then you know what, you can have that little, I'm only gonna focus on these three companies and I know I'm gonna get selected. Then 100%, that's a different thing. But you got, I genuinely always try my best to be as humble about everything I've done, and like and whatever I see myself being in. So I kept a little bit of an open mind. So I think mine was, I can check and I can tell you, but I think mine was 30 plus companies that I was really focusing on. And this was not only Canada. I was also, I had a little heart because I already traveled to Cambodia. I like, a part of my heart was like, hey, international work could be fun again, because I really enjoyed Cambodia. So I was like, why not? So yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to have some confidence you'll get that position, but at the same time, you have to have an open mind that, hey, even if I don't get in these certain companies, I have these other companies that I'm interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So then you find these companies, then you're looking for the role that you're most interested in.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Or like roles, I'll say more than one. Because, again, it's the concept of like, hey, I know that I really want this, but at the same time, there's a million other people applying for the same thing, same
Mhm.
company, and same similar position. So I got to have a little bit of a leeway here and there. And, when you, I think might be different from you, because and I think aside for yourself also, it's about being a jack of all trades, but a king of few, right?
Mm.
So you got to understand about yourself that, and that kind of gives you that little leeway that, hey, I can still do really good with finance. If somebody gives me an Excel sheet and says does do forecasting for the month, I'll still do it. It might be a little bit away from the realms of direct consulting, but it's in the realms of project management. So, or somebody says, hey, here's 10 workers and go manage them and stuff like that. So I can still work with that, because I still have those skills, and that's something I think still gives you that little leeway. So I had more than one role that I was specifically targeting. So yeah, so maybe roles would be the better answer.
So are you looking for roles that are 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line for you? Or are you looking for the role that you're looking to get into as your first grad job per se?
So okay, I like, that's a good question. I should clarify that. So yeah, so direct as a new grad hire type of thing.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with you thinking 5 years in advance. So you can do that, but I don't think it's gonna necessarily help you understand what life would be if you get hired into this company. So you got to make good use of your time, because I'm already staying up so late. So I had to make good use of my time. So I was like, no, I'm focused on new grads, and I'm just gonna, and a lot of the times those interactions with these people resulted in me talking to their managers. Right. So I'm already like, that I've already climbed that ladder of networking. So now I'm here talking to the person that, where the next 5 years would be. So
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you find a few people in each of the companies because now the list is getting pretty big, right? You got
yeah, yes,
a
yes.
couple industries, you got multiple companies,
Hmm.
roles in those companies, and now you got people. So list is getting big,
Yeah.
and this is just like any funnel, right? Whether you're trying to sell something or you're trying to get a job,
Hmm.
it's very similar to the process.
Hmm.
Um, and you have all these people now. Okay, here's the tough part: how do you reach out? And these people, you're finding them off LinkedIn, I'm guessing.
Yeah, most mainly LinkedIn. So hey guys, build your LinkedIn. That's the first thing I learned when I came to university, and it's the first thing I learned again when I was in my job role at IBM. I remember we were in our first week of boot camp. So it was, the first weeks are always super fun, and this one of these senior members of IBM, she asked me, she's like, how's you, are you using LinkedIn? I said, I was using it really well when I was in university. She's like, why'd you stop? And I didn't have an answer. And she's like, you need to continue that. LinkedIn is very important. And I was like, you know what? She's right. And then again, I obviously started engaging again. So yes, LinkedIn is, as a professional, that's your social media.
Yeah, well, it's where you build your brand, right?
Yeah,
People are
100%.
gonna find your title, because what's cool is if people search your name on Google, your LinkedIn will actually come up top.
Okay.
Is what I noticed. I don't know if you noticed, but if you
Okay.
Google your name,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn has some really good SEO algorithms, but your LinkedIn will come up top, not your Facebook page, not your Instagram page,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah,
but actually your LinkedIn.
yeah,
And to be honest, like we hire people at where I work right now,
yeah. Yeah.
and I'm on some hiring committees. I'll
Nice.
Google the person that we're interviewing or hiring,
Nice.
and I'll
Yeah,
see. So, really big point about LinkedIn.
yeah.
Okay, so you find them on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Give us some advice on like the opener. Like, what do I? Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
How you doing? Or how's this going down?
Yeah, so this is a good question. Some people have asked me this before too. Um, you have to be humble. I've because now people are sending me messages, and I can see the difference in how it's perceived,
People
right?
like me are asking for your time. Yeah,
So it's like it, a lot of people when they message, they need to understand that when you're in a full-time role, and your full-time role, especially in certain companies, and these better roles sometimes are the most heavily demanded ones in the company. So you're doing a lot of hours, right? So for us to get a message and then it's not really, I'm gonna say, well put, then you can tell that this person really isn't caring as much. So you can see the difference in how the messages are coming in now, because I'm on the receiving end. But so I remember when I was sending it, I would generally add, I would start off with the, hello or hey, and then their name, and then I would go into more of the conversation in regards to, I saw this in your LinkedIn. I'm really interested in this. I want to learn from you. I find you really inspiring. I see myself in your, in essence, I see you mentoring me, or I see myself in the next 2 3 years, in something that you're doing, and so that's the reason I would love to connect with you, and if humbly I could request a few minutes of your time. When you give it in essence, when you're showing the person that you value their time, then that interest builds, and so then they connect. At the same time, I'll tell you this, man. I tried to connect with many people. Many people did not respond. They just accept my connect and then unread left me. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with rejection. I'm gonna be honest about this. I think having a sales job in the past helped me realize you can get rejected a million times and that's still fine. I remember when I used to do sales, oh boy, it's like the whole day I'll be getting rejected, right? And then the 10% of the time when I got accepted, like when some people would give me that the time of their day, that was my time to make it fruitful, and that's it. It's similar here, right? You're selling yourself, and and if people don't want to respond, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, a key point about when you're trying to, in these conversations with people, with these professionals, I would recommend is everybody likes to hear good about themselves, and this is the nature of human, right. I'll be honest, when I used to send these messages, I was genuine about understanding what they've accomplished, because it's not easy for what easy like it's not easy what they've done. So I
yeah.
would generally find their work and their achievements as humbling, and so I would just honestly say that. And so I'd kind of tell them that, hey, yeah, i'm I'm inspired by what you've done, because this is not easy to do, right? So I would go further step. If somebody connects back with me, I would learn more about them. Like, I'd Google about them. I'd understand what they've done for their role in their positions. And sometimes you'll find stuff on like Google, like the reports, the analysis they've done, right? Or if they're master students, you can sometimes find the work they've done as a master student, right? So
Yeah.
you can talk about that, and that shows them that you're genuinely interested in their success, and also in what they're doing. And then they find more comfort in telling you more about it, and XYZ. So yeah, that's something I'd also say is just keep an interest in the people that you're networking with. I know this sounds like a lot of work, but that is true. It is a lot of work. But this is what you got to do honestly to get the roles that you're looking for. This
Yeah.
is, it's easier to just go on LinkedIn and Glassdoor and just open up or alter your internal portals at your universities, and then just find the companies that or just find the job opportunities and just apply to them. That's easier to do. But listen, they're not going to be things that are directly in line with what you want in your career. Not always, right? I did both. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did both. I was on Goodman's portal every single day. I did both. That's what you got to do to sometimes get the roles that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so a couple of pieces that you mentioned there is you're genuinely interested in the individuals that you're reaching out to. And
Yeah.
obviously you recognize, and to be completely honest, they also recognize
Hmm.
that why you're messaging them.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing you mentioned as well is, it's human nature. Like people like talking about themselves, and if you're working this very intense job that
Hmm.
demands a lot of hours and is taking a lot from you, it can even be refreshing to hear from somebody that's 10 years younger than you or a couple years younger than you and saying, wow, like, hey, you're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe you could spend 15 minutes helping me out.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be surprised how many people would say yes. A lot of people will say no. That
Yeah.
was, I think I took that away from you. People will not reply.
Well, I'll give you my success ratio, and I'm happy to share this. Is 80-20. So 80-20, meaning 80 people did reply and they engaged with me, and 20% didn't. Right? And I think the 20% didn't because they were one few of the senior members. They
Yeah.
didn't have time. I'd see when they were online, it's like stuff like they were online 5 days ago. So you
Yeah.
can't really blame them, right? And so, or I mean, you can't really blame anybody because you're asking for their time. Understand this. You're not. First thing first is take that entitled mentality out of your head. Right? If somebody's giving you in a minute of their day, I genuinely appreciate that. Have this mentality in your head. Right? And that was something with me, right? If somebody just said no to me, I appreciate it. I respect it. So thank you for even you connecting with me or not even connecting with me. You saw my request, and you took the second to accept or deny it. I am really, really thankful for that. Understand that no one needs to give you anything or do anything for you.
Yeah.
So
And
the entitled mentality needs to go.
I hope the people listen to this really catch on to this, because you've got this. It's what you're bringing to the table, right? The way you're walking in is like, okay, I'm here to learn. I
Mm.
don't know all the answers, despite the fact that you worked as you managed the line. You're a group leader at GM, right?
Mhm.
You've been to Cambodia. You've ran massive projects on a national level, and yet you're here saying, okay, I'm here to learn from you. So I think that's massively important.
Yeah.
Uh, so now, I say I'm sending you a message,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you're this awesome person working at IBM, which you are, and I want to get a couple minutes of your time. I say, hey Ahmed, I saw on your LinkedIn that you actually traveled to Cambodia and you did work there.
Hmm.
Um, I was doing a bit of research on Cambodia, and
Hmm.
some of the work you did was very, very interesting to me.
Hmm.
I'd love to hear about your project management or consulting experience, and
Hmm.
I humbly request a couple of minutes of your time
Hmm.
to chat.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
That's not, so first of all, if you send me a message, I'm replying in a second, okay? But I get what you're saying. Jokes aside, yes, and that sounds totally fine. Like for example, I get some people who message me, and they're like, "Hey, please connect with me. I want to talk." And I'd be like, "Okay, I'll connect," because I mean, I don't mind. Some people like I'm not gonna say like I don't find myself as like someone so cool and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I'll connect. That's totally fine, and I'll jump on a call with you. But at the same time, I have other people who are like, send this nice paragraph, very as you just said it, and at the ending say, please let me know if I could be of any help, and if any essence that I could give back for your time, right? Now,
Mhm.
and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I respect that. And then at that time, and I'm like, you know what you could do is you can tell me about your experience also. So I spent like a little few 10 minutes learning about their experience, because sometimes the people who connect with me, I find their work more cooler than what I've done and what I do. Some of them I started a company and stuff, and I'm like, you know what, I have an entrepreneurial mindset too. So I really appreciate learning from you that what you've accomplished so far.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So I'm typing that message. I send it off. They're like, "Yeah, let's connect."
Mm-hmm.
how am I and I'm getting really technical because I want to be able to share with some of the new
Yes.
grads and the people listening like exactly what you can do that
Mm-hmm.
has worked for people that have been able to find success doing it. For
Mm-hmm.
example, you.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going for a Zoom call? Am I going for a 10-minute Zoom call, 30-minute Zoom call? Am I going for texting? Like, how do we start that relationship off?
You gotta understand what is the person across from you the most comfortable with, right? Because you're asking for their time. So you say, okay, thank you so much for connecting with me and accepting to give me your the time. Um, what time works the best for you? What day, what time works the best for you? And what's the best mode of communication? Then you kind of mention a few. Remember, you always gotta go in with a suggestion and a solution. That's not just with network. That's with everything in life. If you're just kind of just always throw a question with no concept of like suggestion and solution, then you're just like you're asking me to do the work, right? So when you send them, you be like, hey, how does these times work for you? How does these mode of communication? Just please let me know whatever your ease is and whatever your preference is, and then just you jump on a call and or they'll tell you exactly what time they're looking for, what days they're looking for, and how much time they can spend with you. And then you make you establish that call. If it's Zoom, then what you did today. So I highly appreciate you sending me the link, sending a calendar invite and all that stuff. That kind of shows that you really want you appreciate that I'm coming. And I genuinely appreciate your time too. I'm going to be very honest with you. Spending time with you is a lot of fun. So yeah, so you establish all ease that you could for the person that you're asking time for,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'd give them the time. I'll ask them for their number, or if they want to call me, I'll give them my number. And then they just say, yeah, just call me on Saturday at 12 o'clock, and you
Yeah.
call them. And don't be late. That's one thing I gotta tell you. Don't be late. Because if they're sitting there at 12 o'clock waiting for your call and you don't call, that's your first impression is gone, bro. I used to wait. I'd 5 minutes before, I'd literally just have their number dialed in, and then if it says at 12 o'clock, I'd be 11:59 call, or
Yeah.
11:59 with 30 seconds call. I'm being honest with you, call, and that call would go, and they'll be, if they're late, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong. Remember, you're asking for their time, so if they're late, that's 100% okay. So they'll be like, hey, just give me 5 more minutes. Give me 10 more minutes. I'm just finishing up with something. I'm just having lunch. Let me just finish up. And then that's it. And then you just ask them, sure, please let me know when I can call you again. You sit there, or like you can, if they give you 10 minutes, yeah, go do whatever you want to do for 10 minutes, but be there again for the next call.
I'll jump in here and say, so you want to be able to adapt to their time, but
Mm-hmm.
also make sure that time works really well for you too.
Yeah,
You
that's true.
don't want to have them suggest a time that doesn't work for you,
Mm-hmm.
or you say it works for you, but it actually doesn't. Like for example, for me, I was we had another guest on earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
and that one ran a bit late.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to tell Ahmed that, hey, like, I'm running a bit late.
That's okay.
Uh, so sorry about that, but
No,
you don't want to
no.
end up in that situation. Absolutely. Okay. Perfect. So that's really good. And then you start having that conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
This was interesting. Like, can you offer some advice on what to talk about with this person?
Yeah. Oh boy, I had a master sheet with I say generic 50 questions. And then I would also write very specific, like key detailed questions. For example, this one person that I was networking with, I can still remember, he worked for a specific practice within IBM. And so I asked him, this is the new project that IBM is working with your practice. Are you engaged with it? And if you are, what did you do for this? And he found that really like cool. He found that,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not engaged with it, but I know a little bit about it and I can tell you about it. But if you want, I can network you, I can connect you to the person who's engaged with it. Right? You know what that did?
Wow.
That linked me forward also, right? It's those, you have to find again, it's genuine interest in the other person's success. You can't fake it. Like when people are faking it, you can totally tell. Like, you can totally tell. And that's something I tell a lot of people is just don't fake it. Be genuine about it. You don't, if you want this role, you want to learn about this role, right?
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, just ask those specific questions, and then again, I had a lot of generic questions too, because sometimes those generic questions are like the icebreakers, right? Hey, I see you've accomplished this, or not even okay. That's so a little specific. Hey, I see you have this role. I'd want to learn more about this specific role in this in your practice. That I can see it's in the, this SAP practice or some type of other practice. Could you tell me a little bit more about it? A little bit more generic, and that person can give you the 10-minute answer, and then you take that 10-minute answer and you find 3 questions or 2 questions from that. Like I see you right now, you're writing down questions, right? That shows that you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're gonna ask me new questions. And that's the same thing like with when you're networking. You have to be very proactively listening. Sorry, you have to listen proactively, and you have to find newer questions to ask. Show that you're interested, man. You have to be genuinely interested in what if you're networking with these people. If you're not interested, I'm gonna be honest, then it's not gonna work. Because people will see it right off the conversations, the communication. And when you're interested, trust me, there's been times when my call has gone over the hour. I request an hour, it goes over the hour. And they'll be like, yeah, my apologies. Can we reschedule one for next Saturday? Same timing. Just somebody's waiting for another call after. And I'll be like, humbly appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I will send you an invite for next week. Take care. Bye. And that's it.
Wow. And you know what? That's so true, because how many times do we actually try to reach out? You realize that if you're actually interested, because if you're not, like, just stop going down this path for this role. Like, you just realize that what this person's talking about is not interesting you. Like, this is probably not what you want to do or spend, the next couple of years doing.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Right? Like, turn the gears back and find something that actually piques your interest.
Yeah, because you're going to waste your time and you're going to waste the other person's time. So don't do that.
Well, yeah.
Like you still learn a lot, right? You still get the experience and stuff and a chance to take a lot from that person. But if you're not really interested in this and you're going to continue trying to have calls, then you're just asking questions and just wanting answers just so maybe you can get a job. And I mean, if you want a job, you're maybe still interested. But if you're not interested, honestly, what are you doing there, right?
Yeah.
It's
absolutely
it's like just beating your head on the wall for no reason.
Yeah. And like, let's be real, like, anybody listening or you and I, we've all spoken to somebody that does not care about what we're talking about. Yeah. And it is the most, like, have you ever I've done this a lot, because not a lot of people care about some of the things I talk about. Is I'll go up in front of a room, I'll start making a presentation, to your classmates.
Yeah.
And they're not listening. They don't care. They have to ask questions because the teacher is marking them grades, to ask questions.
The grades, yeah.
And they're going to get grades if they listen. So you talk to this person, say you've been able to have 1 conversation, 2 conversations. When and how would you transition to, or would you even transition to making that ask, like, hey, I'm actually really interested in this? How would you do it?
Do you remember when we had that co-op class, we had the 30-second pitch, and at the ending of the pitch you close. And then when you're doing sales, the most important point of sales is closing.
Yeah.
So if you do want to learn on how to close with your networks and potentially find yourself a good job, come watch my second video. It'll have a lot more details on that. In the meantime, do like the video, share it with people that can be benefited, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications. Also, come follow me on Instagram and TikTok for more content. I'll try to upload as much as possible. Thanks. Salam.